Hi, this is me, MC of Healthy by George. I come each week to talk about elements that are key for us to stay healthy well into our much older years. Today, I want to talk about our blood work and heart health. And why do we need to know more about key elements of our blood work so that we can understand what to do daily to change our heart health or maintain our heart health? So please think about subscribing. I'd love to see you here each week to talk about those elements that'll keep us healthy well into our much older years. I want to stay as healthy as long as I possibly can into my 80s and 90s, functional, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. How about you? So we all know about the cholesterol, the LDL, the HDL, the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, the LDL. The high levels lead to plaque buildup in the LDL. The HDL is the good cholesterol because it removes LDL from the bloodstream. But we never talk about triglycerides. We never talk about something called ApoB. And we never talk about lipoprotein A. And these are three key elements that I think we also need to consider because when I think about my husband and when he had a heart attack 10 years ago, his blood cholesterol was normal, but his triglycerides were so exceedingly high. And it was not anything we ever talked about with the doctor. They all looked at his cholesterol and thought normal, but his triglycerides were so high. Blood pressure was normal too, yet he ended up having a massive heart attack. So, why is that? I think we have to look at all of the blood work that we have for our heart health, not just the cholesterol, because I think that there are factors that we don't understand that play a role in heart disease. And I know for me and my family, we have a lot of heart disease historically, genetically on my father's side. Almost all of his uncles died from either a heart attack or his aunt died from a stroke. And so those are big concerns for me as I get older about preventing heart attacks and stroke. And guess what? It's the number one killer, period. It's our heart health that is essential for us to stay healthy well into our older years. So, what are these things that I'm talking about? Triglycerides. I think many people don't understand that triglycerides tell us about the high levels of the fact that we have some kind of metabolic syndrome going on. And I'm not sure if we really truly understand metabolic syndromes. I think that metabolic syndromes have now become this issue around becoming more insulin resistance. It impacts how we think about food and our diet and nutrition because metabolic health has become a much more important factor about staying healthy as we get older. So, knowing what your triglycerides are, as well as your cholesterol, is an important component because it needs to be considered in the process. I think the other thing that I never had thought about, and I just recently had my blood work done, was this issue of it's apolipoprotein B, or what they call ApoB. And it indicates a number of these kind of arthrogenic particles that are floating around in our blood that is a strong indicator of plaque formation. And if you have a high ApoB level, that means that you're creating things in your body that are increasing your potential for plaque buildup. So that's another one that I had never really heard of, ApoB. And I think the other one that I'm really learning about is this problem that's called LPA or lipoprotein A. Apparently, this is an indicator of your genetic components. And it significantly, if it's high, it shows that you have a risk of cardiovascular disease by promoting plaque buildup and inflammation and possibly clot formation. I swear, I don't know why I can't talk this morning. So I think that these are key components. And I think that LPA is becoming a much more indicator because it can be independent of what's happening with your cholesterol. The truth about science is that We don't know everything. We uncover things slowly and we learn factors as we gather more information, as we study the human body. And the more we as a human being can be engaged in our health and our well being, we can start to understand more about what we need to do daily to improve our nutrition, our exercise, our mental well being, so that we can stay as healthy as we possibly can well into our older years. Because I'm learning it's a daily practice. And if I know about my ApoB and my cholesterol and my LPA numbers and my triglycerides, if I know that information is either borderline or it looks like it's trending high, because truthfully, we only get this blood work done maybe once a year. That's not great. How do you know if you're improving, if your nutrition changes are helping you? We don't. We get tested for our wellness check once a year. Not great. I know that there's a big trend right now of these companies that are offering, I think, for $300 to $400 a year, this process of giving you blood work throughout the year. That's really tempting because you don't really know until you go in for your wellness check. Or let's say you have something that's indicating that you have a risk, then you take action. But who wants to wait till you know you've got a risk for a genetic or a heart condition? I don't want to wait. I want to catch these things as soon as possible so that I'm not doing anything damaging to my heart health. I want to make changes daily. And believe me, it's not simple. I'm someone who has a background of emotional eating, especially when it comes to donuts and sweets. I'm very challenged by that. But if I remind myself daily that by saying no to those types of foods, I'm guaranteeing that my heart health is going to improve. So it's a daily reminder for me. I wonder what it is for you. How are you helping yourselves with your cholesterol, your heart health? I know that we all have to do things in small steps daily to help ourselves. Because truthfully, the only way that we make big change is by doing something very small every day. For me, that's what I've seen with my weight loss. That's what I've seen with my just in general improvement of health and well being. Yes, taking steps to help myself. We all have to deal with what goes on genetically with who we are. I have a family background of heart disease. So believe me, the next thing I want to talk about and understand more is this issue of calcium scores. I'm not really sure about what that means, but I understand that when you have a high calcium score, it means you're at a higher risk for cardiac events. So we have to do things daily to understand very much what does our nutrition, what does our movement, what does our mental well being play a role into our heart health? Because all of those things contribute to how we're going to age. And I know that by doing something daily, a simple 5-minute meditation, a walk after dinner, breakfast, or lunch, any type of lifting of weights, even in the littlest amount, is all key. So if you can use your blood work to improve how you influence what you do daily, I know for me, I'm using it as a reminder. My allergies are killing me. I'm using it as a reminder every day to stay away from donuts and sugar because those are the biggest contributions of my, not only my weight, but also my heart health. So I have to remind myself because it's so easy to have foods that we are not going to help us from a nutrition perspective. Sure, in the moment, it's certainly tasty and it seems pleasurable, but in the long run, eating sugar at that level is not in my best, it's not in my best interest. And it's not easy to remember that when you're someone who's an emotional eater. So be well, my friends. We have this one heart and we must protect it. And how we do that is a multi-pronged approach. It's about eating healthy. It's about being mindful and taking time and taking breaks. It's about taking walks. It's about small steps daily. But we need to know the information too about our blood work. So, what does your blood work tell you to inspire you to take those daily steps to keep your heart healthy? Let's be well and live intentionally well into our much older years. And please think about subscribing. I'd love to see you here each week where we can share and discuss these things that are going to help us stay healthy and live long lives. Be well. See you next time. Bye bye.
So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.